Welcome everyone to another episode of Hard Work Beats Talent, where we aim to draw upon the insights of our inner circle in order to help our listeners learn from their wisdom as well as some of their mistakes. I'm Alex, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and co-host Nikita. How's it going?
I'm good, Al. I'm good. It's been a good week. It's very busy. You can see we've been busy. We got the merch. Get in there if you can see us. We got the merch.
For those watching.
Yeah, exactly. It's been great, man. It's been great. Really excited about today's episode. Got a great guest. I was looking forward to it.
Perfect. Yeah, which leads me on to very naturally introduce our friend and member of Inner Circle, Kim. So Kim, how's it going?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I feel very privileged.
We feel very lucky to have you. So to kick off, could you give us a quick elevator pitch as to who you are, a bit about your story, just so that the listeners can get an insight into what you're about?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So like Al said, I'm Kim. I'm from the northwest of England, so the Wirral. I currently live in London, and I am a self-employed personal trainer, as well as owning a couple of cleaning companies along the side. And I also work for a company called F45. So a mixture of jobs in there. Like to think of myself as a bit of an entrepreneur, mixing a few jobs and a few different types of roles. And yeah, that's me in a little sentence.
Nice. Buzzing.
So could you give us a bit of an overview of your journey? Like, what led you to this? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur, or was this something that kind of developed organically over time?
So, I absolutely had, no idea. Let's start off that with what I wanted to do with my career, with my path in life, really. It was more of, starting from a passion. So, my main role is that I'm a self-employed personal trainer. And that came from the love of PE in school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I enjoyed PE. And then so I knew that from that point I wanted to do the anatomy side, and that was like a big passion of mine. And so I just kind of worked on that from a young age, and then fell into personal training and realised that it was actually a big love and passion. And I've continued that I've been doing it now for 11 years. I've been a personal trainer for 11 years.
How old are you? How old are you when you came to that realization that fitness was something that was of interest to you?
It was when I was in school still. So it was definitely when I was choosing, first of all, GCSEs. I knew there was only really one passion for me. There was not history, wasn't anything like that. It certainly wasn't languages. Not very good at languages. But I had the passion, and I was good. I wasn't the best. I was never the best at sport, but I was good enough, and I enjoyed the challenge of physical activity. That's when I knew from that point that I want to pursue this. And then once I did the GCSE, and like I said, I went into the more anatomy side of the body and how it actually works. That's when I knew that I wanted to do more. For sure.
Nice. And so it sounds like you went from school and you kind of pursued that career from the off. Is that right?
Pretty much. It wasn't that I knew.
What I'm trying to get to is did you do A levels and then go on? Because I know you went on to college to study fitness as well. So was that your journey from sort of early stage of education and progressing into it from there?
Yeah. So from GCSE, I didn't go to university. I went straight. I didn't even do the A levels at school. I went straight to college and did 2 years of sports science. So I knew specifically that was my passion, and that's the direction that I wanted to go in, because it was the only thing that I had enjoyment from at the time. It wasn't necessarily I knew that I wanted to become a personal trainer. I learned that along the way. It was, like I said, I kind of fell into being in a gym environment and then working from that. So, yeah, I went to college for 2 years, and within that time, I did my sports science diploma, and became a fitness instructor as well. So there was always these opportunities given to us in college, particularly for girls at my age. We got the opportunity to do a football course. So I'm actually a football coach as well. Did you know that?
Did not know that. I did not know that.
I am a football coach. Funny.
Your
She could
team
teach us.
your team could probably do with that.
yeah. Could you come along on a Saturday and just
absolutely,
give us a few pointers, because we've had an absolutely terrible season. So I think we could do with you. Guy, if you're listening, you're sacked.
It's been a few years, but yeah, sure, I can give Guy a run for his money. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So then, from that point, I then started full-time work from 18 as a fitness instructor in a gym, and they helped put me through my personal training. Then it was a private health club, and I was really, really lucky and fortunate that they could afford to put me through my personal training then. And that's where my PT journey began, really. I had a few breaks along the way, but yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. Do you want to give us a little snapshot of where your journey took you?
Yeah,
I think that will be really interesting for people to hear as well.
There was a couple of years of studying whilst on the job, working full-time.
Was this in fitness?
In fitness,
when
in the private health club from 18 to 20.
Nice.
And then when I turned 20, I wanted to do something different. I had nailed it. I was a PT before I was 20. Nice. Nailed that. And I was like, right, okay, I need to do something different now. I've been working since the off. I've been working for years. I started my first job when I was like 13. So I was like, right, okay, let's do something different.
In need of a career break.
Yeah, I need it's time for a break. I'm only 20.
Yeah.
But because I didn't do the university route, and like everyone had and people around me they were like, partying and doing all of that side and like living different lives. I was like still living at my parents and so I thought this time for something different. So I did a ski season.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. In France, and it was like the best break ever. It was
amazing. Yeah. I've heard people talk about doing ski seasons and it always sounded so amazing, like a lot of fun, and something that I would have loved to do that, but I've never actually, had the courage to go off and do it. But I bet it was like super fun.
Yeah, and I would say that I wouldn't want to do it because of how cold it is. One thing I do definitely like, kind of that whole thing resonates with me is the opportunity to go and live by yourself abroad, and doing that at 20 is really quite a brave thing. Like I worked abroad by myself for the first time. I think I was 24 at the time. So yeah, those 4 years can make a difference. But like, yeah, how did your family take that? Like you saying, Mum, Dad, I'm off.
I mean, they were like, supported me, of course. They were thrilled for me because it was like this amazing opportunity as well. And like none of us had ever skied. So it was like a big deal. But also a big deal because like no one in my family, like my older brother hadn't left even then. He didn't go to university. Like none of us left the house until like later years. So it was like a big thing for one of us to actually leave town. Because I'm from like a little small town up north. But it was like, oh my God, she's going. Like, where's she going? Please come back. That type of thing.
Were there any, like, why skiing? Like, had you skied before? Like, what was it that at 20 made you think, you know what, I'm just going to...
Right, exactly. A good question, because because we'd never been around it. Like, but when I worked at this private health club, which was on the Wirral, it was like quite an affluent health club. And the people there were like, well, we're going skiing. Off they'd go skiing for winter seasons. And I'd be like... Where are you all going?
Why are you going to the cold?
And they're like, why have you never done a season? Like, our sons, our daughters have all done seasons. And
like Hugo and...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, off, I was like, cool. Which leads me on to season where I met like a variety of people. Most of them based in London. So it was quite nice to get out of my town and meet different people from the country, basically.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like I hadn't.
It's an opportunity to grow up as well, like you're saying, Alex. You kind of, particularly because you're from a small town up north, which I'd imagine culturally a lot of people don't sort of leave very often. But you made that like really brave step to just go off and have that experience, which is really commendable. Yeah,
no, that's definitely something that's coming out. Like, although you didn't have too much clarity as to like where you wanted to go and end up, you were passionate about sports science. You pursued that. After that, you got qualified as a PT for the age of 20, and then after that, despite no one around you, like in your immediate circle, having gone off to do a ski season, you pursued it. And yeah, I'm sure the rest of the story will show how much of a kind of like trailblazer and just how direct you are about your purpose. Like by the sounds of it, you've pursued something that is deeply personal, not necessarily meaning to, but kind of with your own mind. And that's something we'd love to hear more about.
Yeah, thank you. Like I've never really actually thought of it like that. You don't really see yourself in the moment like doing it like that. It's more of like, I don't know what I want to do next. But as you get older, you do realize, well, all those steps that I made were actually quite brave. Like,
massively. And I think there's actually something in that is braver than just following the status quo process and the things that either your friends are pursuing or your parents tell you to do. Because I think what's quite common is a lot of people, young people, will go to university. Not necessarily, some will have a passion for what they're doing, but some will do it because, and I've had these conversations with some people that I was at university with, and they said, I'm doing this, and then I'll probably do a master's after because it just prolongs me going into the working world and growing up.
Actually knowing what, having to figure out what.
Yeah, so it's almost.
I hate that, but I want to do.
Yeah. But it's just so interesting that they've almost sort of not sacrificed. They're obviously getting something out of it because it's fun. You're meeting people. You are learning as well. It costs a lot of money for the privilege, but they're kind of doing it without sort of taking that leap and almost saying, do you know what, I'm going to get into something that I've got an interest in now that may not necessarily need to go to university for. So I think that's massively brave to have done that, particularly at your age.
So bringing it back to your ski season, you meet people from around the UK at least, and from probably different kind of socioeconomic backgrounds, different experiences maybe to the people that you'd grown up around. Absolutely. What happened next then for you?
I then thought, I don't want to go back yet. So I went to Italy and lived in Italy for 6 months. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it was insane. I was an au pair actually, and I lived with an Italian family.
Wow.
That's amazing,
looked after 2 little girls, which again, I was never a nanny. But I was like, well, I can, they were 8 and 11 at the time, and they just wanted a big sister role type of thing.
Amazing.
How did you go about finding that role out of interest?
Oh, because of these people that I met on season.
Wow.
They'd all done things like that. Like they've
lived life.
They were like, oh, this is like this one girl, Beth. Shout out to Beth, who can speak 5 languages, by the way. She's
amazing.
Sick. She was like, oh, I've been an au pair like all over the world. Like this is how we do it.
Well, it's an amazing opportunity to see the world with an earning and bored.
I would definitely recommend it for people that would like to have like a break or, at a young age that want to do something a bit different. Ski season, au pairing, that type of thing.
Yeah, live abroad, see the world.
And you get to see a different culture. Like I lived with Italians and like their lifestyle. It was insane. Yeah.
I think particularly in today's kind of environment where university's as expensive as it's ever been in the UK, a lot of people I think around the age of 18 think, well, life's looking a little bit bleak in that if I go to university I'm going to have all this debt. If you don't have the financial backing, how can I afford to go and experience the world, learn more about myself? But by the sounds of it, just the 2 examples you've given us there, like there are ways to do it, and you found a way to have these experiences and do a lot of growing up at a very young age. Like I know I was doing at 20 and it wasn't anything near this mature. So like really
don't get me wrong, Gal, it was still party. But it was such hard work. Particularly ski season, like that was some of the hardest work I've ever done.
And do you think that's something like is that a kind of an ethic or principle that you've been raised with? Like we've not even spoken about your kind of various businesses and your career, but is that something that was always impressed upon you from a young age, or is that something you've just, I guess maybe with the sports science background and that kind of competitiveness and wanting to improve in sport, is that something that you've transferred to life, or is that something the family's kind of fostered?
I would say it's come from family. We've all been hard workers. It's always been you go out and get a job and you earn and fend for yourself and everything, with the support of your parents. Like my parents, as soon as we all turned 13, because that's the age that you can go and work, it was like, right,
paper round. Come on.
Paper round, dragging me big trolley. But it was always like if you would like money, we earn it.
You don't just get it given to you.
Exactly.
Sort of,
it was never that. But because my parents have worked really, really hard in their life, and it was never like, I'm sure it wasn't easy at times, like bringing up 3 children on minimum wage or whatever it was that they were on at the time. So it was always live within your means. It was like one of my dad's things, live within your means, and well, you got to go out and earn. Like, if you want the money, you got to go and earn it.
Sounds very much like my dad.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Good.
Live within your means.
Live within your means. That's
means.
a big one. And I was part of the paper round crew as well. I was there, scrawny 13-year-old pushing this trolley around. So I definitely feel you on that. But
hard work.
I have to say, yeah, it's hard work. But from a young age, you're already, you're kind of like learning what it takes to earn money. It doesn't just fall on your lap. You definitely start to
Well, respect money as well.
Yeah, exactly.
The hard work that you've put in.
Exactly. But, again, I think for you, a lot of it stemmed from your family as well, and instilling those principles in you, which is really cool. So just little synopsis. So school, you found your passion for fitness. You then went to college, did your sports science, which is great. Finished that, became a PT before you were 20. Then you're already like 7 years deep into your career, into your working life. And you thought, you know what? There's still life to be lived. You did a ski season, which is super cool. You were an au pair in Italy. And actually, I wanted to ask you, so now I've got a bit of intel. So, I know what the answer to this is, but I think it would be for you, Alex, and our listeners to be super interesting to hear. Before you went out, you didn't actually meet these people, did you? As in your au pair family?
No.
So tell us how that process worked, because I think for people who might be looking at it, maybe think, oh, is this a bit weird, how the interviewing process works, and, don't know these people.
So
go on.
Tell a story. It was Beth who showed me aupair.com, and you literally upload your profile, like a little bit like these dating apps, and you find your family, or they find you. They found me.
Perfect match.
And it was a perfect match. It was, we all swiped right or whatever. And from there, I was still on ski season at the time, and we had a few Skype calls.
Oh, mad. So you actually applied while you were skiing?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so we had a few Skype calls, and that was...
You said skiing, working.
Thank you, Alex.
Working. My bad.
And that was it from there, really. It was, but the process with aupair.com is really they
vet you quite rigorously.
They vet you, they vet the families, so it's all
quite
very
safe.
Very safe, yeah. And then they book your flight, and you just off you go.
That's amazing. So you don't actually even meet the family before you start.
That was a moment, yeah.
That's incredible. It takes serious stones to do that, And
then back to their house. I was very, very lucky. They had a massive house. Castle and all sorts. It was great.
I suppose if you're getting an au pair from overseas, you're of a particular demographic.
Yeah, definitely. Was it quite scary when you got there? Because you were 21 at this point?
Yeah, I was 20. Just about to turn 21, but my 21st there. I think I was a little bit. I was more nervous. I wasn't scared. They made me feel right at ease, but it was quite lonely. The experience could have been was quite lonely at moments because I was with a full Italian family, which I would never change. I was immersed in that, but I wasn't with my age group, which I had just been for 6 months, partying with my age group, and then straight into
au pairing.
But it wouldn't change it for anything.
And I hate to ask this, but did you pick up any Italian when you were there?
Sí. Poquito. Oh, no, that's not.
Wrong one. So I did really try, Alex. You remember I hit before that. I was not good at languages. Yeah.
Okay, so you covered yourself.
Covered me back there. However, by the end of the 6 months, I could understand every word.
Oh, amazing.
I just couldn't
speak it
back. It was I really struggled. I could order, I could do the minimum, but and I could understand. It was really funny. At one time, towards the end, we were sat with their friends who didn't speak a word of English, and I'd met them loads. They would be speaking Italian to me, and I'd be speaking English back.
No way.
And we'd kind of understand.
Yeah.
It would just be great.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So yes, shall I move on to the next? Yeah. So look,
next phase.
That's really interesting background. You know, your early days. Let's get a little bit deeper into your self-employed personal training business. Mm-hmm. So you're self-employed. You obviously have to get your own clients, market yourself. Stay on the edge of the industry, and because I'm sure that's really important. Mm-hmm. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview of the industry, the fitness industry? What's it like? Is it like male dominated, female dominated? What kind of clients do you get? And also, what does your day-to-day role look like as a self-employed PT?
Sure. So I'll start from when I came back. So I then started working for David Lloyd, which we all know is a big health club. Mm-hmm. And I worked for them as an employed personal trainer for nearly 7 years. And within that 7 years, 5 years in, I moved down to London.
Okay.
With David Lloyd. They moved me to one of their flagships down here.
So when you came back from au pairing, sorry, just to take you back a step, mm-hmm. you then got a job with David Lloyd and moved down with them.
4 or 5 years later.
Okay.
So I did a good stint back home, and then I moved down. And the reason I moved down was for better opportunity for mm-hmm. PT, because this is, it was like, okay, I'll go a little into money, but it was like 30 quid an hour for PT up there, where it's like 80 quid an hour for PT down here. But obviously it's all relevant, right? Because we're in London.
Yeah, cost of living.
Cost of living.
And it also sounds like you outgrew your fishbowl in a sense.
In a sense,
in terms of where you were living, and it was like it was time to
natural step.
It was a natural step.
To
it
move
definitely
to like
was.
big city.
And with this industry, with the fitness industry, it's all happening down here now. I'm not saying it's not happening back there, but there's just so much more. I mean, we all know, like, walking down the street, there's a gym of some sort on every corner, right? So I knew that, and I wanted to go and explore that a little bit further. So I did 2 years down here and started to build my client base. And it got to the point where I was like, right, okay, it's time to become a self-employed personal trainer. And that was 4 months before we went into lockdown.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And before we get on to that, you alluded to it a little bit, but how was that move? Because, obviously you've taken 2 huge steps of bravery going to Italy, going on your ski season, but uprooting your entire life indefinitely to London. No family down here?
It was indefinitely, because my mum was like, take everything. I was like, taking me whole wardrobe. I had friends down here. So my friends from ski season, I had people down here that I knew of. But again, I think it was something in me that needed to go and do the next bit. Like there was something...
More excitement than apprehension.
Yeah, more excitement. I was definitely more excited than worried. I obviously, apart from the first week worries of starting a new job. As you well know.
Never worried.
Never worried. Fresh. So, I was more excited than anything. And my family probably thought it was for, a year, like I'd been away before.
It's a phase.
So when are you coming back?
Yeah.
I actually don't know.
7 years later.
Yeah.
She'll be back any minute.
But so it was more of an excited move than anything else. And like I say, I think it was just the drive.
Yeah. And I think before I interrupted, you were about to explain 4 months before the pandemic.
Yes. In the December, I left the harbour because I'd taken on the cleaning company role at this point as well. So
which we'll get on to.
So I was like, right, okay, I've got a good base now. I can go off and do it myself, and I had a good client base to take with me. And then the pandemic hit.
Sorry, before you talk about how the pandemic changed your whole business model, having just got into being self-employed, you're like, new journey. Then obviously pandemic was happening, you had to change it up. But how does the industry look upon, you kind of, or PTs leaving, and then, potentially they, clients leaving with you as well? Is that something that happens really commonly?
It's something that they are obviously aware of, and they make you aware that it's
frowned upon.
It's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Certainly. Personal training is what it says. It's so personal that you are building that connection with you, and that I still
like
have.
your style and
like your style, actually become friends.
I was going to say, is it almost more than just come do a workout? Like it probably does get to a point where the connection's a bit deeper, and you have friendships in place.
Certainly, I have a lot of my clients are my friends, definitely, and a lot of them are there for more just than the training.
Therapy.
it's like hairdressers, isn't it? You sit in that chair and it's more than just a haircut.
My style of PT has changed over the years and has developed, obviously. I mean, that's a little bit maybe more to get into, but as the industry has changed as well, you're always changing along with the industry. Certainly, like the personal side has changed, because I've made, like, you make deeper connections along the way, and you have clients that maybe last, a lifetime. So, yeah.
Amazing. Do you want to go on into the pandemic then, and how that changed your entire working life?
Gosh, it was when they announced it, I was like, what am I going to do for money?
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. And because obviously the cleaning company as well had to stop. Like, obviously we all had to stop, right? And then a week later, I messaged all my clients and took everyone online, which a lot of my industry did. People went online. People still wanted training. It was great. It was better than ever, really. And I had a really successful year.
Amazing.
With that.
So that's like Zoom, kind of doing it over conferencing platforms and things.
Zoom. So what I actually started with my friends. I started with my clients that were my regular clients, but I tried to grow it. I made a little Kindness with Kim Instagram account.
Yeah, come on, plug it. Kindness with Kim Instagram.
In the show notes.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes.
Thank you.
But if you're looking for top PT in London, shout Kim.
Look no further.
And because we were taking it all online, that's why I created this Instagram to help. Actually, it was to help more people, because it was obviously going to be a really tough time, really dark time for us all. And I first of all started with my friends and got all of the girls from back home up north, so everyone from that I knew down here. And the first one, I had about 15 girls all waiting for me on this Zoom call. And I was like,
oh, amazing! So you did like a group,
I did
like
groups,
a group session.
I did group sessions
Nice.
every week for my girls. And then my clients would join on as well.
Yeah. It's like a community, isn't it?
I took it onto Instagram and started doing those lives as well.
Nice.
People would join on every Saturday morning, every Monday evening. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it breaks up the whole, the quiz night with your friends on Zoom.
Yeah.
Do a fitness session. I remember when the pandemic hit, trying to get hold of equipment and stuff. It was like everything had just inflated ridiculoly, if you could even get your hands on it. So to do something like that, I actually wish I had known about these lives and Zoom sessions. Like, that would have been sick.
Yeah, it was great, and obviously it was great for the industry and all. And I think there's stats out there that people did get so much fitter and changed.
I think actually I'm not sure if I should. Well, I can speak from personal experience. I think you could go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure there was a good percentage that went that way. But yeah, it was great to help on a broader level.
Scale,
yeah, definitely.
And
I got clients from it. So
it's amazing. So by the sounds of it,
the
pandemic was obviously a travesty. We lost a lot of people, and it was hard for everyone. But from your perspective, both businesses, we'll come on to the second one, were really impacted by that and could have maybe been finished by it. But what you have described sounds very solutions orientated, and from out of the pandemic you've seen opportunity and grown your client base. So no, that's fantastic, and I think is something that we can take away, and hopefully our listeners can as well.
Yeah, I think that's like a really key gem in all of this, is no matter what challenges you face, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to come up with new ideas. You can't just rely on, this is what I'm doing today, and there's no scope for change.
Well, it takes me back to what my dad said.
Yeah.
You have to, if you want money, you have to earn it. You have to earn it. You can't just be sat still. Obviously, people were able to sit still because they were still getting paid, but for me, I wasn't. And so it was, okay, I need to know what I'm doing next. What's my next move? And that's why, the client base came online. The kindness that came was actually wanting to help, me. That was genuinely me wanting to help, and for me as well. That was
Do you know, sorry, that just reminds me of something my fiance's mother once said to me, which really resonated, which was that life's not about serving yourself, it's about serving others. And yeah, by the sounds of it, that was a very you were looking, to help others, and out of it's come something which has been really valuable for you. So no, I think having that service mindset and pursuing your passion, which is what you've done, seems to have paid dividends.
It's that balance between passion and purpose. I think these are really major buzzwords now out there, but passion is something that you do for yourself more so, and purpose is that outwards activity, so things you do for others. And it sounds like you struck that balance really well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And actually I'm just mindful that some of our listeners might just say, PT, and then set up her own company. And I assume if you've done it via a company, your personal training and...
Yeah.
So Nikki and I have had legal training, part of which involves your LPC, company law. This is how company's structured. How was that? How did that all come about for you? Did you essentially just work it all out as you went along, or I just think it'd be interesting and I think we should do a pod on this sort of stuff.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Definitely. Great.
If you didn't have people around you necessarily saying, or parental influence being this is how you set up a company, this is how you take money out, etc. How did you go through that process whilst leaving a job and setting up on your own?
So takes me to the cleaning company, which is I've now had for 4 years this April. That was my first. It wasn't the self-employed PT. It was having my own cleaning company, which is actually a franchise. It's called Well Polished. It's across the whole of the country, and that was where my first learning curve was to set up a business, and I was helped along with that because it was a franchise. They taught us step by step, which was really handy, to have someone do that because I didn't have a clue.
It's all very abstract.
So open a business account, right? Okay. So thankfully, I had great support through the franchise. I mean, obviously, you pay for that because it is
the franchise, that
you pay into. Part of the franchise, exactly.
Well, they want the franchise to succeed as well. Hence why they provide with franchises coaching and training,
exactly,
and they're not in the business of you failing with that. So which is great.
Areas off. They're just they wanting you to. They're supporting you the whole way.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic company actually.
And before we move on to the cleaning companies, it'd be interesting to know what are some of the surprising factors about running your own kind of personal training business. And generally the personal training industry, for anyone that's watching and might have an interest in the area, what do you know now which you would have been really surprised to hear before you started?
So I suppose it's, okay, I have the passion for fitness. You have the passion for fitness, and that's why most people will go into personal training because they love the idea of spending the time in the gym and, living their hobby. It's work. It's absolutely my passion, and I will do outside of work, but when I'm working, it's work. So I'm having a great time working, but people forget that. They don't think that they're actually having to do sale. You're selling yourself. You're selling. You're a salesperson at the end of the day.
Selling your service and your skills.
Selling your skills. All of the programming that goes behind, and the looking after the service that you are providing these people that are buying into you and your beliefs, that's a big part of it. It's not just your hobby. That's what I would put out there to people that would want to come into fitness, and I recommend it to people that all the time. If they have a passion and they are driven for it, I say go for it, but just remember it's work. It's still a job. Particularly F45 side of things. I've had it a few times. It's the best fun ever, and it looks like the best fun ever coaching a class, but you're still working. It comes natural.
Yeah, and I think there may be this sort of presupposition that if you're a PT, it's almost like easy money because people they want to work out, and like you say, you're living your hobby, so you're kind of hanging out with people and taking them through that journey. But it's not just that, because as we're saying, it's first of all, you got to know what you're doing. So you've got to skill up, got to do your qualifications, which we'll talk about. But you're running a business. So you've got to think about accounting, marketing, sales. And you've got to be acquiring clients all the time, because as I'm sure like with any sort of business of this type, there's churn. So your clients aren't going to stick with you forever. So you have to bear that in mind. You've always got to be finding new clients. And you never know. There could be another pandemic or another recession or something. You know, people can't afford to, you know, spend the money on PTs or as much. So they're cutting back, and, you know, there are all these various factors.
There's one thing, sorry, Al. So when I started as a PT, that was my biggest like learning curve, was sales. Like that was what I had to. That was like what I had to learn. Like there's a natural side of it for me that I was good with people.
Yeah.
Like, so that was like my natural ability in personal training. And for people that want to go into personal training, if you're naturally good with people, you're gonna enjoy, and it's a good start. And for me, it was, I had to work on selling. Yeah, it sounds brutal, but it's still, you know, you got to work on that. It's a business. It's not just you're there doing your hobby.
And that's a really good
skills that pay the bills.
It'd be interesting to hear about the other kind of key skills in the area, but I think it's a good point to just dwell on for a second, because I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm great with people, therefore I can sell, but it's almost like you have to translate that into the ability to get people to part with their money, which isn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world.
It's not at all.
But any other skills that you think people should be aware of if they're thinking of pursuing a career in PD?
So yeah, most definitely being the people person, the sales side of things, knowing that it's more than just that, but also keeping on top of the industry moving, because it moves all of the time, and you have to upskill constantly. You can choose an area that you want to go into. So strength and conditioning, yoga. I chose the massage route, so I'm a sports masseuse as well.
Jeez.
Brought that in there.
Endless skills.
So that's like the rehab side is like a big one for me, as well as like strength and conditioning. But you like pick your area that you want to like go for. You can like be general, like, because I will train anyone for ever anything, but I will specifically drive the bits that I'm good at. So my sports massage, not everyone is a sports masseuse. So for me, that's my angle. Find your angle.
I like
that's your USP. Unique selling point.
Yeah.
Love that. So just really briefly, you mentioned that you're head coach at F45 as well. Anyone that's not aware, it's essentially, it's a gym, but it's class-based, kind of a group PT type of environment, very functional movements.
Some describe it as a cult.
Some describe it as a cult. Listen, I've done it.
I've done it. It's wavy.
It's wavy.
It's wavy.
If you want results, listen, it's pricey, but you get results. So, no, that's wicked. Just very briefly, like, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it's like being an F45 coach? Because I think, you know, some people may have seen it's very, you know, active, lots of energy, and how does it differ to the other side, the personal training side? And actually, this may be a good point to kind of talk about PT versus, say, big gym personal trainers, because there is a difference there. Sorry, there's a few angles. But
there's a few angles.
Yeah.
I'll start with that last one, because I was working for a company, so working for David Lloyd. You're employed. You only get a certain cut of the money.
So they have like packages or hourly rates that they sell to their members, and you only get like a commission of that.
There's other big gyms though where you can pay a rent and you can charge what you wish. So, but I went for the David Lloyd route. It felt like the safer route at the time, which it definitely was. It helped me build my skills as well as being paid. So it's really good to do that, and it's really good to start somewhere like that. I would always recommend people starting there rather than paying all of the money straight away and then trying to find their feet doing their sales role across the gym. Start with a company that will support you to begin with. So they gave me 40 hours. They paid you minimum wage for the 40 hours, and then they gave you the opportunity to go on the gym floor and find them clients. And yourself. And you learn loads of skills with your different types of personal trainers around you.
And just on that, you said find them clients and find you clients. How does that work then? So say you meet someone and they're keen to have a session with you. Whose client is it?
It's David Lloyd's client.
Okay.
But
Longer
to me, it's my client. Because I take pride in my work. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not just there to earn that 20 odd quid, but I'm there to keep them as a client, make sure that they're getting the right service.
So I think, and that makes sense. The reason I asked is because I didn't know if there was, say, a distinction between the two, but by the sounds of it, it's a good investment in time
Exactly
up front with a safety net. And
exactly it.
Because it's not just about finding clients and building your base. It's about building your skills, learning from other people around you, developing your communication skills, your personability, and your hard skills of actually fitness and coaching.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, when I came back from the au pair, I went straight into David Lloyd. Forgotten how to sell that.
Culture shock.
I was like,
not selling in Italian anymore.
And it was. Luckily I had good people around me who would like support me, and they built us up. You have like managers that will help manage you and get you there. Then when I finally moved down to London, natural, like it was it was already instilled in me from the 5 years. It's time, like you say, it's like takes time to get to
that point. So not to rush it necessarily, because the opportunity to speak to another PT that, or just be in that industry and learn from people that are out alone kind of in the industry and know what the realities of that look like. You mentioned about the company stuff before, like starting out without any clients and having to set all that up and fend for yourself, I guess is quite a big and demanding ask, especially if you haven't had any training. So really investing that time pays dividends down the line.
So what's it like being a F45 coach?
Yeah, it's great. It's great fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it a good kind of
good
contrast to
really
one-to-one PT going onto like a floor and having 30 people
and perform?
Yeah, and perform.
And stand there and be like, hey. Absolutely. The reason I love F45 is because you can, as a personal trainer, I can transfer my skills onto the gym floor. I'm not stood at the front of the class directing them from that point. F45 is, you get stuck in. It is group personal training, like Nikki said. So you get really involved, and that's why, for me, it's one of the best classes out there, just promoting F45 on, I reckon.
If you're not looking for a one-to-one PT, then you might want to consider F45.
So good fun is the main thing, and it is a community.
Yeah. Cult.
I feel like the best communities get accused of being cults from the outside.
Do you know what I mean?
No, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
We don't want that libel case. Well done, Anne. So, cleaning business, which is, another facet to your skill set, which is, is incredible. So it's called Well Polished. It's a cleaning agency where you will find, where you will have people come to you looking for cleaners, and you've got cleaners, and you'll put the two and two together, and there you go.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of overview of the business. I know I've done a really job of that, but maybe I should have let you do that. Did I miss anything out there?
No.
Was that okay? Okay. Like but you do work, again, it's a franchise, as you've mentioned. So you've bought into the franchise. What sort of do you buy areas?
Yes.
Locations? How does that work? Do you wanna...
So with Well Polished.
So just to add on that, how did the opportunity come about? And what,
let's start there.
Like kind of led to, like...
Because it's so random compared to...
It's very random.
Yeah.
And then also just that leap of faith, again, that seems to be a common theme throughout this. What was your mindset at that point in time?
So, because I'd been a personal trainer for so long, as I'm sure you've been in your careers for a good time now, Alex, yeah?
Don't give away my age.
Me, I said 11 years before. I'm like, oh God.
Listen, don't let me start talking about age.
There's been doubts along the way if I've been making the right choice in my career path, which it's been hard for me to, get over, really, or actually just realize that I'm definitely on the right track. I said so confidently earlier on that I knew at 18 that I wanted to be a personal trainer, because at the time I did, but it doesn't mean that throughout the years I've doubted that what I was doing was going to give me the right life, or, What I had to always bring myself back to was that it was enjoyment. So this one stage in my life that I was unsure of if it was right what I was doing, my friend had this opportunity of, one of my close friends, her dad owns the whole business. She's about to be CEO of Well Polish. So yeah, she's
amazing.
Big shout out.
Oh, big shout out. So she was like, I've been given this franchise 4 years ago, and I finally worked on it, girls, and it's amazing. Like, you can earn from it. You can like maybe think about doing different things as well at the side. So she basically like helped her friends like get into it, and I was one of those friends, and I was like, yeah, I've got the time. Like, for me, I can fit it around. There was dead time. That's why I probably always doubted what I was doing was right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can work a 25-30 hour week as a personal trainer and coach and still have time.
But the beautiful thing about being, well, self-employed for starters, but I guess a personal trainer or someone who does something where you are in control of your own day and your own time, it's incredible, because you can take on other things, and where you want to make time for stuff, there's always time, right? Depends on how you prioritize and things. So I think that's a really great benefit to being self-employed or having your own businesses. You have time to take on other opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it cuts both ways, right? Because when you're really busy, or like during the pandemic, when you had to suddenly essentially evolve, you can't then necessarily think, oh, I'm going to go and open a franchise because you're sole. So it's like you get the time when things are running smoothly, but you have to take on the responsibility when they're not. So I think really
it's so different to be in our sort of jobs where we have to be at our desks, let's say minimum of 40 hours a week. You're always on call. You've got emails, phone calls, meetings. You don't really have the time to be able to go, well, you have time, you still have, do bits and have ventures on the side, such as this, right? We're doing this out of hours.
Still don't know where you found the time.
Yeah, I don't know, But being self-employed, you can manage your day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what made me go for it.
Yeah.
Go for getting a franchise, and actually I could manage my time. And I was ready to do it.
So your friend comes to you with this opportunity. Yeah. You say, yeah, why not? Go for it again, leap of faith. And I think Nikki may have butchered what it actually involves. If you could give us like a bit more of an overview on top of what he said around like what it involves.
More eloquently.
So I own and manage the franchise.
Okay.
Already better. Clients will come to us. I have self-employed cleaners, so I don't employ anyone, which is really good, by the way, if you want to go into a business. Self-employed cleaners, you send them to, and then they pay agency fee, and that's how you build your business. Okay. The management is the managing of the cleaners, where they need to be, etc., and making sure that the job's going smoothly. So it can be time-consuming at times, but if everything's running smoothly, it's great. It's a great little side hustle.
Yeah. And then as part of that franchise, part of your return, I suppose, you have to then pay to the overall.
Yes.
Franchise, right?
Yes.
Just
So you have to pay like an
listeners.
MSF fee, which is every franchise out there will have to pay a fee.
It's like a franchise fee,
like a
monthly
fee.
Yeah.
But to the franchise, but you get so much with Well Polish. You do get so much support as well. So it is really, really good. 2 years into owning, I own the Harrogate region. So North Yorkshire. I know it sounds random, but I did live in Harrogate at one point. I didn't touch on that earlier, but I lived in Harrogate. So I was like, yeah, that's a perfect area for me. And I now own the Southwest London area as well.
Wow.
So I'm building.
And there's scope to grow these businesses, right?
Absolutely.
Grow them, and then potentially, who knows what can happen? You can potentially sell them off, or
this is why I end up getting another franchise, and I'm in the middle of selling Harrogate actually.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
So I've had.
You looking for buyers?
Cutting deals. So in all of that, I think we can probably cover it in the round. We've touched on it with your PTing, but then you've got this business on the side as well, which is it's like another third of your time. What's the day-to-day like? So you've got your PT clients. I'd imagine, is it a lot of sort of phone work? What does that look like?
The thing is, with owning your own business, it never stops. So it is like a 24/7 role.
Yeah.
Not that, like I said, in the quiet times, everything's running smoothly. Great. However, I am always on call. Like I'm always there. The future plan I'm sure this is a question coming up, but I'm going to jump in there now, is to have someone run it for me.
Okay.
That would be the ideal, because I'm going to keep hold of Southwest London, and hopefully build it to the point where I can have an employee or a couple. And
potentially get new regions as well, if it's all going well, right?
Exactly, yeah.
This guy loves Monopoly.
Yeah. It's just a numbers game. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just to the different skill set that I learned, like getting the franchise, like starting the cleaning company, was massive. Like I'd never like sat at a computer for so long before.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd never.
Probably one of the reasons you went into PT, because it wasn't something that spoke to you.
Yeah, exactly. So it was it was hard, like really hard. I mentioned to you earlier that it was, I'd go to sleep worrying and, having to get over that side of it, or not get over, but work on managing like myself, my thoughts, my process of learning something new. But yeah, it was good. I needed to challenge myself, Al, and so I did. Yeah.
I think amazing. I really appreciate your kind of honesty with that response, because I think there's a side of things that we don't often necessarily talk about when we hear from people that are successful, and that's that it's not that you wake up, do what you want, and then one day you're successful.
Yeah.
It sounds like that maybe because, yes, you pursued your passion, you've jumped on opportunities, things have worked out well, but there are a lot of sleepless nights along the way, right? And someone once said to me that all kind of growth happens outside your comfort zone. And I think, learning a whole new skill set, and worrying about whether or not you're going to be able to do it well enough to make your money back, because you've probably invested at that point, right? Yeah, I'm sure was on your mind going to bed. Not to mention a PT company, not to mention that you were so far from home.
Yeah,
it's a lot to take on mentally.
Yeah.
And doing all of that as a self-employed person, your income could end overnight, essentially, like the pandemic showed us. So it is like you say, it's not just, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a director, like everyone, everyone's Instagram bios is now. It's hard work and it's stressful. Hard work, stressful. And look, in all seriousness, like I have a business with my family as well. And, I think I want to impress on that point is that you don't really ever switch off. Especially when it's like a service industry, you are always on your phone or picking up the phone on the weekends, or if you're on holiday. So if anyone's thinking about it, you have to bear that in mind as well.
What the joy out of it though is that it is your own, and that's what drives you. Like it's what drives you. It makes you go okay.
Yeah.
Hence why I wanted to take my personal training, like self-employed as well. Like it was to have it all, like mine, because I know that's where I get the most like drive from, like knowing that it's mine and my business, and the only way it works is from me.
Yeah
Hard pressure, but
but it's all your work. It's all your work, and the results that you attain are because of your own effort and work, which is really cool. So I think we covered quite a bit there, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, the only other thing I was gonna ask was juggling the roles again. Yeah. I think it'd be helpful for our listeners to think or to hear about like what it actually looks like in practice, because often you might just hear, okay, she's got a business, she's got a PT, she works at F45, but how do you effectively manage your time like week to week, or is it just a moving feast that you have to just roll with?
So no, it's structured.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of it is structured. It wasn't to begin with. It was, I just sit down now and do a few hours of work. But now I have to like really structure my time. With the cleaning company, my phone is always on hand. But when I'm with clients, I'm with clients.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And I have tapered my client base down. Like I'm not a personal trainer that needs to be doing 40 hours a week. I'm happy with my client base. I know where to gain more client base from if need be. So it's always that. You always need to remember that that's in the background. But I've tapered my week and it's structured. So there's certain times throughout the week that I'm doing certain things. And that was a learning curve in itself, because at the start I was like, let's do it all at once.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't do 5 hours PT back to back.
Yeah.
Can't do that because I need to be sat at my desk.
Working.
And you don't
smart, not hard. Well, smart and hard, but recognizing that you have to be structured in order to be efficient.
Work hard while working smart.
Got to make time to train as well.
Yeah. That's it. You've got to stay fit. So I think a key takeaway from this, actually, for our listeners and viewers is, if you're at a point in your life, maybe if you're younger or even if you've moved on, you're a bit older and done university, but let's say you're leaving school, you're leaving college. If you're considering going to university, but there's nothing necessarily that grabs your interest or you think is worth spending, upwards of £9,000 a year on, that you're going to see at the end of bring some return for you, consider franchises. Look it up. Google buying franchises and have a look through. See, there may be something that's of interest to you that you may want to have ownership in with yourself. The amount of success you attain is directly correlated to the amount of effort you put in. You get to manage your own time and your own business. So I think it's definitely something worth considering for people.
100%. And I would say we probably haven't gone into it too much, but undoubtedly there were setbacks, I'm sure, along the way, or real, like we've touched upon, like grey hair moments with the pandemic, and I'm sure with the franchise business, people are meant to be somewhere and they're not, and you're having to deal with that.
Let's not talk about that.
So it's not necessarily going to be a smooth road, and you might come across like bumps along the way, but I'm sure regardless of what happens, especially if you're young starting it, and even if it doesn't work out, you will learn a hell of a lot. Like you said, the stuff you learn around company organization, structuring your time from the franchise was then directly transferable to you taking the career leap into owning your own PT business. So you could also look at it as a learning experience where there is an opportunity to make good money and to have some autonomy and ownership of your kind of income and your time. So I think, I think you were the first person I heard about that had their own franchise. And it's something we're definitely considering. I was actually speaking to some friends about it last weekend, and I'll be picking your brain after this about it.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. Let's open an F45.
That's a front.
Yeah. I was going to move on. Is there anything else? No.
I think the only other thing I wanted to dwell on from this first half of the conversation was the constant evolution. So you leave school, you've done your sports science diploma, you get your PT license, and then you decide to actually, you know what, I'm going to get some outside of kind of northeast experience, and come back from those experiences. From David Lloyd to London, from London to your own PT business, from your own PT business to having a franchise, from that to F45. It's just not standing still and going with the opportunities as and when they arise, and really forging. How many other people do you know have had the kind of unique path that you've had? We know many lawyers, and I talk to them who have had very similar paths to us. Maybe less so for you, but it's nice to hear such a unique path, and one that has really come from you. No one said, you know what, it'd be a really good idea to do that, or maybe you should start your own PT business. You've just gone ahead and done it, and I really respect that. And I think
Thank you.
It'll be really nice for our viewers to hear that sometimes following your passion and what you believe can really get you to where you want to get to, even if the end destination isn't what you think it is when you start out.
And very quickly to add to that, like we found when we had our friend Bio on, was listen to yourself and trust yourself as well. That was quite a big thing we took away. Sorry, Kim.
It's okay. My thing would be enjoy what you're doing. Like if you're enjoying yourself and you're earning, it doesn't matter that you're not earning X amount. Like for me, over the years, it was I really enjoy myself. I enjoy what I do, and that was all my parents instilled in all of us. I've got two brothers. Again, I mentioned earlier, none of us went to university. It wasn't like they were we want you to find what you're passionate about, and go on that and make sure you're happy along the way.
Which isn't a challenge in itself. I think a lot of people struggle with that, but no one can, even listening to this, you'll get great insight into what people do. But even this, you're not necessarily going to have a light bulb moment, or you might, but it still starts with you. You have to get up and look and try, otherwise, you can't expect things to just fall on your lap and happen. Life happens out there, outside.
But no, you mentioned your parents and their influence, and I think that segues quite nicely onto our next section. So it would be good if you could just very briefly give us an insight into your background, educationally, socioeconomically, and what that looked like. And I guess, would you have thought you'd be where you are today, knowing what you do about your background? Was there? I think the answer. Well, I'll let you answer.
You say no.
Don't go down the same rabbit hole as me.
Just find myself.
I went to state school. Like I say, no university path. My parents. My dad is a police. Well, he's a diver for the police.
Oh, wow.
He's always been in the services. He was a firefighter and diver. And my mum was a hairdresser and worked in shops. So they didn't have these high powered jobs. It was always they earned well, they earned what they could earn, and they lived within their means, and they gave us a good life. We had a really happy.
But they came from really humble beginnings, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, their journey sounds kind of really incredible.
They've done really well to be where they are as well, and even more so where now their kids are. Because all three of us have done well. Yeah.
Give your brothers a little plug.
Okay,
come on, Mike and Rob. What do they do? Come on, tell us what they do, because I think it's super impressive.
They're my family as well, right? We're all this unit. So my older brother, he owns his own roofing and construction company. He started it in early 20s, and he's now mid 30s, and it's
taken over the port and all the
and the rest and the rest.
Yeah. Everywhere. What's it called?
RM Roofing and Construction.
So you need roofing.
Need roofing in the northwest.
Yeah.
And my younger brother, he's in IT, and he's now a
data engineer.
Thank you, data engineer.
Yeah. Tech, coding, all of that.
Killing it. They're both killing it, even more so than me. Even more so than I am, I should say. So it's really nice to know that my parents have guided us in the right way without even without telling you what to do. It was go and enjoy yourselves, go and find your feet, and now look at us, we're all successful, which is in our own right.
Kudos to them.
Yeah.
I think raising 3 children, obviously, hopefully one day, Rachel will hate to hear that, more than 2. But that's obviously a challenge, but I think there probably will be a pressure of you wanting to, do this. And I get it with my younger brother, where I'm there are all these opportunities, but ultimately he's got to pursue his own path. Yeah. And by the sounds of it, they were quite good at allowing you guys to do that, and it's worked out really well.
We're all self-employed as well, by the way. All three, obviously Rob and this company, but Mike's self-employed as well. Wow. So it's we're all our own business.
But I think, and from that upbringing perspective, even if we've talked about our families in the earlier episodes, and we're so mindful of how lucky we are to have had the upbringings that we have. And if we have kids that are half as sort of able to contribute to society as we have been able to, or brought up to, or, just being functioning and well-rounded and, able to communicate and, just all this stuff, and just have good character, but then also set them off into the world and have belief that you've done a good enough job for them to move down to London or go to Italy or start their own businesses and, succeed in their own right. And applause to them.
My big thing my mum always says is success to her is an empty nest. And by the sounds of it, your family have been really successful in.
It's almost empty.
Almost empty. Our Mike is still there. Under the big box living at home.
Yeah. No, but he's gearing up for big moves himself, right?
He is,
so
it's
by choice.
It's by choice, not necessarily.
They would probably want us there forever, mum and dad.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well done, mum and dad.
Amazing. So I think we've heard about some of these already, but from your parents, or even now with your your older brother, he's grown man in his own right, has a family and stuff, and even your friends. What are some of the key principles you learn growing up?
To do with career?
Personal or professional. So I know one of them is
live within your means.
Live within your means.
Live within your means. be happy, like make sure that happiness is like comes first. Like that's like the most important, like health and happiness. That's what my parents like driven into us, really.
Yeah.
And the biggest one for me is like, don't worry if you don't know what you want to do. Like that's okay. Like look at me, I've like evolved along the way. Okay, it's like I said, I started off, I had the passion, but I was like, oh, what do I actually want to do? Just evolve, like find your feet.
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't have to go into university or life thinking I need to do this, I'm going to do this, because you might not want to do that 10 years down the line. It might change at that point again. And you know, like for me, 10 years down the line, I don't really know what it is that I will be doing at that point. I know that I have ideas to help me grow over the next few years, but I'm happy to keep evolving.
Yeah. And because we like to draw upon some of the difficult times that we may have experienced or challenges, have you ever had a moment where, because you went from school to college to work, and have you ever had anyone that's maybe made you feel as though you're not going down the right path, or and how has that helped you to become a stronger person as well?
Yeah, so I doubted myself in the earlier years for not going to university, and someone once said to me, "You're not an academic," and it's taken me a lot to like get over that, because what does that mean? Like, should I be like, as in,
you wouldn't understand?
You wouldn't understand because you're not an academic. It wasn't very nice, and I was like,
comments like that can be so damaging. Like,
damaging. I mean, that was years ago, and it's still, it's still there. Like, I don't allow it to affect me anymore, because I can look at sit and talk to you two. I've done so well.
Let's go toe to toe now, Liz. Let's look at the roster and the CV. Come on.
Exactly. So don't worry about being not an academic or whatever that means.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all be all and end all.
It's not how hard you get hit.
Yeah.
It's how many times you get up. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's that. Not a nice thing to hear, but I think it's it shows character as well to take that on the chin, reflect on it. Yeah, you have a moment of doubt, but ultimately, if anything, it lights a fire under you to prove them wrong.
Absolutely, and I think I had similar. Like, I was actually reflecting on it the other day. I saw my parents start of last week, and I hadn't really thought about, because I was listening to someone, they were saying, everyone's got that person that said that they were never going to amount to something, and then they went on and did great things. And I was like, I don't really have that, but then I definitely do have those people, but I just don't necessarily think about them. But I think for certainly our younger listeners, you might get mislabeled, you might get told that you're this or that, but like, people have no idea what you can become, and the only person that's in charge of that is you. And I think you're a really good example of the fact that, despite what people might view as, she's not following a traditional path, and
or view as success.
Exactly.
Yeah, success is different to everybody as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really good for some of our listeners to hear your journey.
Thanks.
I don't know if you had any other questions, Nikki, but I wanted to get on to the fun one. But
yeah. No. Look, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and certainly like a lot of gems to take away, a lot of learning, I think, for a lot of people, and just getting an insight into what it's like to be self-employed, what personal training involves, and what I think we might do is actually on our social media, because we didn't touch on it today, is giving a sort of a breakdown of the practical steps that it would take to get into personal training. So the types of qualifications you need to do, and things like that. So we'll speak to you afterwards, and we'll put that on our social media, which we'll plug at the end as well. So yeah, I guess wrapping it up, get to the fun part of our show before we do close. If you could, would you go back to a particular point in time to change an event, or go to a particular point in the future to see an event?
I would go future.
Okay.
Because there's no point in changing the past. It's happened already.
Yeah.
And we are where we are, right? I would go to the future and have a little nose, see what I'm doing.
Any particular point in time?
I think, this is going to be really, really sad because I've not touched about like my personal life right now. But I'd like to see like what mother I'm going to be. I'm excited for that.
Okay.
It's a beautiful answer.
Yeah. Love that.
And we don't have to do the 3 dinner guests.
Thank you, because I still don't know. Is that really fun? Yeah. 1, 2, and 3. And we'll have a Chinese.
Yeah. Sweet and sour chicken. Love that. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah. So kind of in light of the fact that you would go forward, looking back, you may have touched upon this a bit, but if there was one key piece of advice you would give to your 18-year-old self, what would it be, knowing what you know now?
I would say, don't worry. I don't think you need to know what your next step is going to be. Enjoy the process.
Just take that step.
Evolve.
And evolve, yeah.
I really like that.
I love that, yeah.
Because I think we get a lot of people on, and I'm so guilty of this, 5-year plan every year, looking at like monthly plan, all this stuff. So actually, that's not always necessary if you do want to, maybe take a more organic approach to your life, and it, as we've heard, can lead to really, really successful outcomes. So find what works for you, and don't put too much pressure on yourself in terms of having to have it all worked out, because it's probably more fun when you don't have it.
Yeah, because I think I did put pressure on myself anyway. I was like, what am I worried? Am I doing the wrong thing that I don't really know what I want to do yet? Just carry on doing it. And here we go.
And you don't know unless you try.
Yeah.
Is it the wrong thing? Well, who knows, but if it's something you have a passion for or you have a keen interest in, just give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, you'll find something else to do. And
at the very least, we've learned about setting up a PT business. We've learned about au pairing in Italy. We've learned about skiing. I've learned about franchises. I'm going to learn some more after this. It's had its use, at least in that respect. So we're really pleased to have had you on, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure we'll carry it on after. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Kim. Just to mirror what Alex said, it's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it, learnt more about you. So, the usual, please comment, subscribe, follow. Hard work beats talent on all the social platforms. Please show love and a bit of support. We'll catch you on the next one.
Hit us up if you want some merch.
And hit us up if you want some merch. Come on.
I want some.
Thank you.
Thank you.